So, good afternoon, and we are just about live. Super excited about today's interview with the co-founders of Creativity Wake Up. So we're just waiting for both Nina and Celia to join us this afternoon, and yeah, super excited to be sharing some really interesting conversation around the importance of creativity. Definitely something that I'm honestly so interested in. And it looks like we have got Celia on the line. Hi, Celia. Celia's coming on.
Lovely to see you today.
Hi, Celia.
Hi.
Okay, now I can't hear you, Seal. So let's just see if we can technology just assist us with some. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you as well. Perfect.
Oh,
there we go.
Super, fantastic. And I know Nina is ready to join, so hopefully she'll be joining in soon as well.
Okay. So how you been keeping while we're waiting for her? All good?
Fantastic. And yourself?
Yes, absolutely fantastic. Thanks, Celia. Yeah, I've just been telling everyone joining us that I'm really excited about this conversation with you and Nina. I mean, you guys really inspire me. And I'm just so excited to be sharing your amazing journey. And yeah, just inviting everyone onto the conversations around creativity. How amazing. So I hope you guys are excited as well.
Fantastic, we are, Lindie, and thank you. You have been an amazing mentor to us, and it's a privilege to be talking with you today.
Yeah. I'm just waiting. Let's just wait for Nina to join us. Ja, kan ons net seker maak waar Nina is. Baie dankie. So I just need to get my technical assistant here helping.
Het ook nie die invite gekry nie. Dis fyn. Toe my gou gaan jy raak aan hierdie wil werk.
Come on.
Technical issue.
Yeah, that's all good. Nina, we just need to get Nina on board. So no worries. We're just gonna for a moment wait for Nina to come on board. Can you hear me, Seal?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. There we go. Do we have any idea where Nina is? Okay. Celia, while we wait for Nina, I think let's get started, won't we? So tell me something. Creativity Wake Up. You and Nina are sisters, but I'm actually interested to know where and how did Creativity Wake Up? When did it see the light? When was it born? I mean, how did that happen? You know, I'm always interested in the story behind the story.
I'll let Nina give you her side of the story. But from me, I actually have a background in architecture. Oh, there she is, joining.
Hi, Nina. Lovely to have you on as well. Hi. Are you well? I'm sure.
I'm very well. I'm very well. Thank you so much for having us on today.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I was just saying, I've been looking forward to today since we decided to do this actually. Yeah, just amazing. So my question was to get us started, where and how was Creativity Wake Up born? I mean, where did it see the light? How did it all come about? And Celia was just about to say, she'd like you to give your side, but then Celia, why don't you kick us off?
I actually have a background in architecture. I did a professional qualification at UCT and a master's in London. And I then transitioned into the organization that founded called individuals. And people quite often are curious why from architecture to and I find at the start Learning about all that architecture is the hardest profession. That if you're a doctor, then you get to bury your. But if you're an architect, can't I? So, that's the movement of architecture and of labor, that they sort of set a trend of architects really leading design thinking. And the Kelly brothers, Dave, a horrible medical scare. He had cancer, and that sort of was a catalyst for him to say, none of this sitting around and waiting, and let's get going. And it's actually a bit of a similar horrible medical scare. It was also a bit of a wake-up call for us, and we had about this for about 20 years. A book called Art Way, and it was that was planted in both our lives, and we got went around for.
Celia, just one moment. I'm backing to here. But the signal is coming and going. It's Ansie's phone. I don't know. It's Celia? Okay. I'm just battling to hear. So Celia, sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure that I can hear you. Otherwise, it's going to be a one-sided interview, and I'm trying to lip read. That's really, really difficult.
Every second word is cutting out, Celia. I don't know. Is it what Tik? On your side, you're just talking to your phone. Is my sound all right?
Your sound is fine, Nina. It's just on Celia's side. Celia, have you got earphones, or otherwise we can try again? But I was just, Nina, so you also were backing to hear Nina.
Yes, it's cutting out all the time, her sound on her side.
I'll try some earphones, but you guys carry on. You can ask Nina.
Okay, so whilst waiting for you, Celia, no sweat. I mean, this is how life goes, right? So Nina, your story, where did it all start for you working with Celia and giving birth literally to Creativity Wake Up?
Yes, so we birthed our company in the January of 2019. But I think as Celia was saying, it started a long time before that in our hearts and minds. It was back in the late 90s that Celia had given me a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron that I think many people have known about. It's an international bestseller now, and it's based on a course she wrote, a course she actually used to deliver on helping people reignite creativity. Initially it was for artists, and then she started having doctors and lawyers and everybody joined this course. And I had been I studied finance and accounting, I worked in banking, and I then worked in people development. But this book had a real impact on me. I'd never thought of myself as a creative person, and it really completely opened up my mind to what creativity is, how deeply rooted it is in all of us, and how much energy it brings into our lives when we learn to tap in to our creative thinking on all sorts of different levels. So it got me thinking, it planted a seed. I continued to work in people development. I worked at Dimension Data, running their leadership forum, their global leadership forum from a group perspective. And I was very involved in employee engagement. And then from there, I moved into a boutique training company, Connemara, where I still am an associate. Also worked with their digital learning arm called Seed Learning, which does outstanding digital learning development. And although I loved my work, I was still very much always training other people's clients in their their work, you know, and using their models and their stuff. And I had this creativity bubbling in me. And I was seeing so many leaders and managers talk about innovation or have innovation as one of their qualities, one of their values, and yet I just was not seeing the creative thinking developing in organizations. I was so keen to branch out, yet I was full of fear. I had a lot of self-doubt. I had been a corporate girl all my life. I was used to just fitting into a big machine, and I just didn't know if I had it in me. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. And then I had a big health scare in 2016. I had been sick actually for quite a long time up until then with very bad chest pain. And after many, many tests and many doctors scratching their heads, finally they discovered a huge big tumor in my chest that was hidden behind my sternum. And I had to rapidly go in for open chest surgery. It was really bad. It had grown onto my lungs, and onto my heart. I had to have chunks of both lungs cut out and the pericardium of my heart cut off and a fake one put on. So if you ever think I'm being a little bit fake, I'm going to just blame it on the plastic on my heart. But as Celia had mentioned, the Kelly brothers, who really inspired us, they're engineers, and one of them had a big health scare, and he had cancer. And following that scare, they founded IDEO and this whole Stanford design school. And so this really gave me one of those proverbial kick up the butts, you know, where you just think, actually, life is short. It can be much shorter than you expect. And you need to sometimes work with the fear and just step into it and just do it anyway. And that helped, you know, give me the push to reach out to Celia and say, come on, let's found this business. And at that time, she actually had finished off with some of her big Archie clients. She'd already started branching into entrepreneurial ventures, trying her hand at some different businesses, and she was ready for something new. So finally, the time was right. And we founded Creativity Wake Up. I can't believe, Celia, it's nearly 4 years ago, and we've gone from tiny beginnings, forming our first little pilot, to now I am a adjunct faculty at the Gordon Institute of Business Science, specializing in creativity and innovation, running some courses for them online there. So and Celia and I have some amazing clients. We've traveled around, and we've got online clients in different places. So it's been an amazing journey, and I think we still have a very long way to go.
Yeah, you know, and Nina, listening to your story, you know, and I'm always, and that's why I asked the question, you know, of course, where did it start? Because, you know, we tend to almost like sometimes fast forward in our minds, and, you know, it's always such a good question to ask, but where did it all begin? Because then we just for that moment pause and sort of just like stop, you know, in terms of where did it all start. Celia, so we did miss some of the things you said, so I'm so sorry about it. I should have stopped you earlier. So yeah, just maybe a recap in terms of your side. So what we heard was you've been a successful architecture, you had your own practice for 15 years, and also I caught a sentence of why would we wait? But then I'm sorry, we missed a bit of the dialogue there. So I don't know if you just want to recap quickly in terms of your side, you know, catching up with Nina.
Yes, as you correctly say, I did have my own practice, but I had really also a desire to train and teach in creativity. It's been a passion of mine for so long. And watching the Kelly brothers, who are two engineers who went on, as Nina said, to found the IDEO Design School, really inspired us. I can highly recommend their book, Creative Confidence. And just to see other people in my profession also go on to use their skills in training people in creative thinking and innovation. So it's been a wonderful journey, and every day is an adventure. I absolutely love it. And we really encourage people to step out and try new things. And that is what we are challenged to do every day as well. So we are having to walk our talk.
So, you know, as if business is not sometimes challenging enough, here's these two sisters. I'm not going to ask who's the oldest, and that is of no interest at all. But I'm more interested to ask, you know, just from a business owner perspective. I mean, you know, you're up in Gauteng most of the time. Celia's down here in the Western Cape. How do you, as sisters, but most importantly as business partners, you know, what would you regard to be some of the challenges that you do face that other people or other business owners could possibly relate with, and how do you overcome some of those challenges, being remotely apart from one another? Anything that you'd like to just put out there in a vulnerable space?
I would actually say, if you don't mind me jumping in here, Celia, that we, you know, even before COVID, we were working remotely together and getting so used to working online, using the amazing tools that we have. And I would say us being in different cities is less of a challenge than being mothers and wives. To me, that is actually more of a challenge, managing children's school, you know, activities and co-curricular things. At my younger daughter's school, they have 9 different co-curricular schedules over the year.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
When we were at school, I think we just had our 3 terms, and everything stayed the same for those 3 terms. They have their 9 different times they change. So trying to manage lift schemes with other parents and the children's activities and running a household is actually, for me, much more of a challenge than working remotely, because we share folders online, we call and chat, we Zoom, we whiteboard, we have amazing mind mapping tools that we use together. We, you know, I mean, there'll be times even where we just sit and work together and we've left the Zoom on, you know, and we get up and have tea, and it's like we're in the same room. So maybe just sometimes where we want to have a coffee, or we want to share some physical items that we have. But even so, now with the couriering, Celia will pop something in a Aramex, it will be with me the next day. So that's not even such a problem.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Isn't it interesting, Nina, you saying that technology is helping us in such a big way, but it's the other things, being a mom and having a partner and dealing with everyday life, that can be a challenge. And from your side, Celia, what anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to concur with everything Nina said, and it's just actually been amazing how with the pandemic we really jumped on board. We had a long-term vision to create online courses, and we thought it would be sort of a 3-year plan when we started out our business. But, you know, when COVID hit, we got going immediately, and now we have a whole learning platform, and you know, people can go and buy our courses online. We've got business courses, personal courses. And so in a way, you know, people, when we started the business, said, well, how's this going to work with Nina being Johannesburg and you in the Cape? And I said, well, there's this amazing tool called Zoom. And people were like, what's Zoom? So it's kind of crazy. We were a little bit ahead of the curve, and we've certainly jumped on the wave. And yeah, we've really have made use of our technology. We'd love to share a little quiz at the end. We can pop it on your Facebook page, which we created, called What is My Creativity Killer, which a lot of people really enjoy. So we've got lots of fun tools that people, free resources that people can use, where you can have a little taste of what your, you know, how your personality type might influence your creativity. So yeah, we've developed all sorts of things as a result of our love of different technologies.
Well, you know, and it's in the word creativity workshops. I mean, you know, it's all about finding those solutions.
Yes.
Being very creative about it. I just love the idea. The name is so amazing.
If I can also jump in there?
Yeah,
Again,
please.
you know, it's amazing also how you can meet people online. And if I think of the people Celia and I have met through LinkedIn, also using that tool, which has been fantastic. And we're actually in the middle of a certification program right now for a new creativity assessment tool. And it's led by a Danish woman who lives in Barcelona and works with a British professor. And we're the only South Africans on the course, and there are people on the course from Dubai and France and Australia and the US. And we're all this sort of community of people who are passionately mad about creativity and innovation. And we happen to be, you know, going through this process together. So it's very exciting. It's a very exciting time to be in.
I think, you know, both you downplay the skill, and I think sometimes just that ordinary challenge normal people have with technology per se. But I think, you know, it's just one of those things. Embrace it, get ahead of it. You know, YouTube becomes your best friend in certain cases. But yeah, if one can understand technology and how it enhances the possibility of doing what you guys are doing, that's amazing.
Yes.
So, you know, yeah, but I'd like to ask you, any one of you to answer my question around I've read that you said your vision is to contribute to the creativity revolution. I think that's what you mentioned. So, Jo, would you want to care to just unpack creativity revolution? I feel it's such a loaded concept. It's almost like, you know, what is a revolution? Something that comes from a different angle and just like, you know, turns things upside down, you know, and it's almost like you can't stop it. That's what a revolution is. It's something we stand up for, or it takes over. So, yeah, maybe just unpack creativity revolution. Where, you know, what is the thought and where does this come into business, I suppose?
I'm happy to jump in there. One of the things that really got me interested in creativity was all the way back in 2006. Ken Robinson did a very powerful talk called Do Schools Kill Creativity? And this has actually become the most watched TED Talk of all times. It has had over 65 million views. And those are adults, students, people who feel that their creativity has been completely squashed by the system. And that is why we do need a creativity revolution. I mean, TED Talk, we know, is a huge platform. And the fact that this is the most watched talk, the topic that people are most engaged and interested in is creativity, and the fact that our society really, in many ways, squashes it. So I think that is where this really big impetus to create a revolution and to change the way we're thinking. Because, of course, creativity is something that can be trained and developed. It's also something that can be stifled.
Yes, yes. It was such a clarion call. And I think there was another one by Alex Osborne, who was an advertising executive back in the 50s. And he sort of made a very famous speech where he spoke to the audience and said, we really need to understand what this creative intelligence is and how to develop it. And from there was an explosion of studies into creativity. And that's grown and grown, and it almost feels like it's starting to snowball. And advances in neuroscience are helping this. So people are wanting to understand, how can we see creativity in the brain? And there's a lot of, you know, it's amazing how quickly we adopted this idea of left brain, right brain, and the left brain is logic and the right brain is creativity. And actually that was based on one study of 9 people who actually already had some kind of, I think, a brain damage or a learning disability in their mind. But it was presented so well, and it was such a sort of sticky concept that it stuck. That has since been debunked. We don't have a whole left brain and a whole right brain, way of one is creative and one is not. But that concept of a creative part of our brain is still very useful. But the neuroscience is showing us two very, very key things that made a huge impact on me, especially coming out of my illness and recovery, is that we get new data every day. So they call this neurogenesis. We used to be taught that our brain stopped growing when we were 18 or 21, and that was basically it. Everything was hardwired and too late if we wanted to learn something new. And now we see, even I think in the 2019, a study was done that showed new brain matter in the brain of an 87-year-old. So there's hope for all of us. This whole thing of an old dog can't learn new tricks is true in terms of a mindset. You know, the old Henry Ford saying, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. But it is a decision. If I decide I can't learn new things, yes, it may not be as easy. It's not as easy as a 6-year-old brain. So we get the new matter, and that our brains are what they call plastic. We have neuroplasticity. We can change our brain. In fact, our brain is changing every second of every day as we think. We are building new thoughts, and it's hard to unwire old hardwiring, but we can rewire new things over it. So it's like having that old highway that we let it go to wreck and ruin, a little bit like some of Joburg's roads. And then we build new highways and new roads, and we can learn new ways of thinking. So yeah, it's absolutely, you know, what stood out for me so much is at Dimension Data, when working with employee engagement, we used to do a lot of work with the Gallup organization and use their surveys across the company around the world. And they came out with some very disturbing feedback from their very wide global research, that 87% of people in the workplace are what they call stuck or disengaged. And this is a huge impact for businesses. It's like, you know, having half of the machinery on your factory floor switched off. Because when people are stuck or disengaged, they are not putting their minds to their work. You're getting such a tiny piece of them. And that all the work I did in employee engagement is partly fueled this idea of creativity, because so many C-suites are made up of finance and tech people, and they don't always see the impact of the human spirit. I mean, I want to use that term, the human, your vibe, your energy, your interest, your engagement in your work, and what difference that can make to your bottom line. And Gallup showed in many, many studies how employee engagement increases your revenue and your profit, but it's still hard for companies to see that. But slowly we're seeing companies take it on board more and more, especially post-COVID. Mental wellness is a huge, big topic, and creativity definitely boosts your mental stability and your mental wellness. When people are able to tap into their creativity, they're able to unfocus their minds, they're able to unplug, so to speak, and there are many, many health benefits from using your creative thinking and your creative spark. So we're seeing, a big need for it in organizations.
It's interesting that you refer to C-suites, Nina, and maybe a question to you, Celia. With, one would automatically think certain C-suite functional roles, Nina, like you said, tech and finance, traditionally was referred to very left brain, logical thinking, I am identifying patterns, having the ability to really be analytical, and yet architectures, designers, traditionally again, using all those cliches, right brain people, creative. And listening to you, Nina, what makes me excited is the idea that we can never really be almost like branded. You're right brain, and therefore those are certain skills that you have, and you are left brain, so those are certain skills. And I think the question to you, Celia, is you know, coming from an architectural background, do you agree? And do you think there's still these type of stereotypes out there alive and well, you know, that, you know, you come to work and you engage with half your brain because that's the sticker you have on your head? And do you find that you and Nina need to first address those stereotypes before there's even acceptance or a window opening up to have a conversation about engaging the whole person? What do you think? Are those stereotypes still alive and well out there?
Well, Lindie, there are obviously to some extent, but it's interesting to see the shift that is happening. And more people, because there's this growing movement and awareness of creativity, people are becoming more aware, and we are seeing customers reach out to us. You know, LinkedIn in 2019 already said that the #1 soft skill that companies are looking for is creativity. And we've had lots of companies that one would think is traditionally left-brained reaching out to us. We had a group of fund managers who asked us to train, and they said, their manager said, he noticed that there were particular fund managers from a very conservative company that are more creative thinkers. They see possibilities and they can look at companies in a new way that their colleagues aren't able to, and they far outperform their colleagues. So he was very interested, and we did training with the whole team to sort of up everybody's level to be able to look at those new possibilities. So I think what one would think would be more traditional companies, more traditional positions, are also out there looking for creativity and seeing the benefits. So it's very exciting.
So I suppose that brings me to my next question, Nina. You know, creativity, and I think I'm listening to you thinking, as a business coach, how would I introduce the idea around creativity enhancing cultures and environments? Because ultimately, the measurement of businesses is what's the impact on the bottom line, right? You know, so all is good and well if we want to encourage engagement and all those important things that creativity brings along. But can you relate with very specific bottom line results or changes that were measurable due to some of the interventions that you and Celia had with a client's business, you know, or team, working with a team? Can you maybe just relate to some tangible results as a result of?
For sure. So in the types of training that we do both creative thinking training, which is sort of your foundation, where we call it the fitness, your creative fitness that you need, and then also creative problem solving. So, for example, on the creative fitness side, we did a sort of creativity, we call it creativity wake-up workshop, with a group of professors and academics at a tertiary institution. And they had found that they were incredibly stuck. They needed to come up with new courseware. They were continually under pressure to evolve. And after our training, I mean, one of them came up to me and just said, my head is spinning with ideas. I just feel like I am seeing things I didn't see before. So with that team, it was like a vitamin B injection.
Yes.
So, and we get different groups. We get a group like Celia mentioned before, where they don't see themselves as creative, where we start off with this is what creative intelligence is about. And we have to convince them first, you have it, and all the neuroscience, and get them on board. And then other teams like this team of academics actually already are pretty creative. And we've worked, for example, with ad agencies where people are creative already, but they are drawing on their creativity all the time, and they're getting completely depleted and worn out, and they need just a refresh, just a reminder, just an injection again, and then also to be recommit themselves to some of those creative practices that you do every day. And again, just like fitness, it's something that needs to become part of your life. You don't go to one aerobics lesson and now you're fit for the year. You need to have your own little routine, and you're walking in the evening and your sit-ups that you do or whatever. And so that's what we did with our team as well, giving them this, reminding them these are the things they've got to be doing ongoing. And so then another part of the training we do is the creative problem solving. And there we love to, so that is taking people through a structured process. Once they're feeling the creative fitness again, we say, let's now look at a structured process of solving problems. That seems on the surface of it quite obvious. You kind of almost think, do we even need a process for this? This is so obvious. But when you go through it, there are so many things that you realize, mistakes that companies make along the way, that it so helps for a team to have a good process. So we worked with a big software company that produce financial and other software. And we did a wake-up workshop with them, and then we did this problem solving. And what we like to do is give them a fun problem to solve, to get them used to it, get them in the mood. And then we take on a real problem, and we work through it together with them. So they get the benefit of being trained in the process, plus the output of the problem. And one of the great things we saw there is the leader of the team, they were a marketing team, and they were changing they were about to change their whole way of marketing, from marketing through horizontals to marketing through verticals. So instead of going one product across all the industries, they were going to go by industry and all the products just for that industry. And the leader was going to think through this on her own. This is normally what she would be doing. And she decided, well, let's just see what the team comes up with. And this is actually what comes up often with creative problem solving, is that it's often done just at the higher levels, and everyone else who's often problem facing and in touch, much more in touch with the problem, don't give their input and don't have the confidence to give their input, or aren't asked for their input, etc. And so as part of this process, she was amazed with what came out, with the kind of things that people were thinking of that she hadn't even thought of.
Oh, wow.
And the day ended with a whole lot of solutions and a whole lot of things that they can work on that they hadn't seen, that they were going to take away. And so that is a wonderful thing to see. And we've seen that in other instances as well, where it's like the lights are going on. And in fact, there's a wonderful study we use where a company, a municipality, in fact, in Orange County in the States, trained their municipal workers in creative thinking. So these are guys, water and sanitation, parks and recreation, police, on the ground, trained in creative thinking. And within 8 months of their training, they were just a small county, I think 35,000 people in this little area. This municipality had come up with $600,000 in new revenue that they had identified, and $3.5 million in expenditure reduction, where people on the ground have gone, but wait a minute, now that I'm looking for ideas, now that my brain is switched on, why do we do this? This wastes money, this wastes money. We could do this more efficiently. And everyone is starting to think creatively. And a lot of businesses, that worries them. They think, oh, but we've got our remit. I don't want everyone trying to propose projects that are going to cost us millions that we don't have. And in fact, that's not what it's about. And I think a lot of leaders are amazed when they start with creative thinking, what good comes out of it in their businesses.
I'm just getting excited listening to you, Nina and Celia. I can't help but think that it sounded like this example with the municipality in the States, where the moment the creativity taps were opened up, it's almost like creativity starts doing the heavy lifting. You know, I'm sort of thinking, you know, that's what it, you know, that's the image I had in my mind. The leader or the leaders of the teams can, I wouldn't say sit back, but yeah, sit back and just for once enjoy the amazing ideas that comes from creativity and heavy lifting, where yeah, it must be amazing to witness. And then I go,
Yes.
were they feeling threatened? Because I mean, normally, I mean, you know, us humans, we want to be the brightest shining button in the room. So now I'm wondering, does that now open up a whole lot of other can of worms around egos and positions and all sorts of things
Yes.
that needs to be, I suppose, managed along the way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and part of it, if I could just also continue just about how so many leaders, and in fact, we have another little workplace quiz around this to say, am I inadvertently crushing creativity in my workplace? And there's a lot of management styles and ways that people lead and sort of cultures in organization that inadvertently crush creativity, where people are
Yeah.
afraid to speak up, they're afraid and they just don't have that confidence and everything. And this is ironically sometimes in the very high performing perfectionism type cultures, because creativity requires a bit of bumbling around as you're figuring it out.
Yes.
Will it work? I don't know. And if you're not going to mention it unless you're 100% it will work, then you don't mention it, and then that creativity is lost. So having a culture of trust, a culture of really being feeling secure in yourself and with your colleagues is really important. And then another key thing is what we call creative abrasion, and that's just another way of saying good conflict. They're teams, and in fact actually marriages, where you can have good and healthy conflict, and it should be there, where you go, I disagree, or there's a better idea, and you spur one another on to better creativity. If everyone's just got this false harmony, everything's fine, no, it's cool, all right, let's do that, then you sort of wallow in mediocrity there. And so that's something we also do when we work with teams. Say, if you want to be more creative, you've got to be able to trust one another and have that healthy debate and healthy building creative abrasion.
Yes, and I think Celia, maybe you could also maybe just touch on some you know, elements within the company that needs, it's almost like, you know, what would be fertile soil, you know, or what would be a good environment if you were looking to enhance long-term creativity and creativity intelligence. There needs to be certain, I think, ingredients within the company and the environment. Celia, what do you think? Your ideas on that?
Absolutely. I just thought I'd develop or touch on what Nina was talking about earlier. For example, we've got a company that we will be running workshops with next year here in the Cape. And they came to us with quite a few pain points. They were a small company that's expanded quite rapidly, and they find that their staff is not taking ownership. They're leaving all the problem solving up to the owners and the senior members of staff. And often it's quite hard to fault them. For example, a customer might tick a box for a certain process to be done, where it's quite obvious they've ticked the wrong box, but instead of sort of asking the question and probing a little bit and questioning the customer, is that really what you want? Can we maybe explain it a little bit further? The person will just go ahead with it, and often to disastrous results. So it's that also sort of encouraging the staff to ask those questions, to take things a little bit further, not to just fulfill the role and expect to be spoon-fed along the way. So that is really part of it as well, is developing that creative confidence and that engagement and that sense of responsibility and that observation, you know, being aware of what's going on and not just going through the motions. So there's a lot of enriching that can happen throughout the company at all levels. So it's exciting to train a big team with different levels and everybody pulling together in the same direction and with a common language.
And with the curiosity. The
Yes.
curiosity that says, can we do this in a better way, or is this the best way? And interestingly, there's a Harvard professor that we follow. Celia, now I'm suddenly forgetting her name, who's done all the work in motivation. And she says the motivation is absolutely key. People need the purpose, they need to use their creativity, but they also need that intrinsic motivation. And so that is a big part of, because you can have the most creative people in the world in your team, but they've got to want to bring it. And leaders can learn to bring that out of their people by showing them purpose, by giving them the scope and giving them the playing field to go out and use it, and reward them for it.
Yeah, there was
That's
a brilliant book.
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, what's her name?
Teresa Amabile.
Okay. I'll make a mind note about that. I was going to say an interesting book on that subject was the one written by Daniel Pink. I think it was called Drive.
Yes.
Where he talks about intrinsic motivation, but then the environment is when leaders and owners of organizations come up with a very specific purpose and intent, but then creates opportunity for employees and team to explore, and to take ownership and develop their skills. And I think the curiosity comes into that. So my mind goes, how important is it when selecting a team or putting a team together? What are the things that, so I hear you, Nina, saying that we've all got certain potential around creative intelligence, but I mean, my mind goes, but the Lord didn't make us all exactly the same cookie cutter shapes. So is there a reality around a cap on potential creativity, intelligence, or potential? I mean, is there a cap, or isn't it not even important? Would we want to just explore what's available in the team and in people? I don't know. So my question is, do you think there's a cap? If I'm looking to put together a team with creative intelligence and potential, what are the things that I would be looking for?
Yes. So first of all, I don't think there is a cap, and it seems in all the creative studies, and in fact, Maya Angelou, the American writer and author, famously said, "You can't use up creativity. The more you have, the more you use, the more you have." Which I absolutely love. And you really, I mean, and some of the creative people that inspire Celia and I, and that we've written blogs on or follow, it just seems, their creativity just seems absolutely mind-blowing. And when putting together a team, Lindie, what I would be looking for is looking for some of those signs of that intrinsic motivation. And in terms of their creativity, there are different types of creativity, and some people often only associate creativity with what we would call the stimulator type. So these are the people who have a lot of divergent thinking, can come up with lots and lots of ideas, but they're not the only type of creative. You also need the types who are fantastic at implementing, and you also need the types who support other creative thinking and encourage, and the types who also connect the dots, and so you need different types of creative people in your team, and it's good to have that and to nurture that in a team environment.
But that makes me very excited, Nina, because I'm going, okay, so creativity is not a one-dimensional sort of facet. What you're saying is, even within our functional roles within an organization, creativity can manifest in different ways.
Absolutely.
Be that, that is amazing. That's amazing. There's a light bulb for me. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's
a space, Lindie, because this ID course, we're doing a course called the Creative ID, and we will hope to be bringing this product to South Africa soon, where you do an assessment and it tells you which one or more of these types you are strongest in, you have a preference for, and it's absolutely fascinating. And their premise is to say not how creative am I, but how am I creative? And that completely changes your mindset. Yeah.
Yes. Celia, you were going to say something to that effect.
I was going to say exactly that question that Nina posed. It's not how am I not am I creative, but how am I creative?
I love that.
In what ways?
I just love
it's very, very powerful. And when you start to recognize all the different things in your life, where you bring in creativity and where you can build it. And whether you are, quite strong in certain areas or more well-rounded. I wouldn't say well-rounded, or just if you have a preference for more than one. So it's fascinating, and I think it's very exciting for people to get their teeth into and to start recognizing creativity in their lives and building on it.
And what Celia and I always say is that you've got to think of creativity as a muscle. Just like any fitness, you can develop it. And this was so encouraging for me, coming from banking and finance. This idea that I can build it, I can get better at it, completely changed how I think, because I was convinced Celia was the fine artist, the drama student, the creative in our family, and I was not. And now I know different, and it's amazing to see the progress I've been able to make in my own life through consistent, deliberate practice. It's very exciting.
And, I think that's possibly for me, amongst all the amazing things you've shared with us this afternoon, am I creative versus how am I creative? That must definitely be my biggest takeaway. Again, like I said, amongst all the amazing things you've shared up till now. I'd like to ask, where to from here? Certainly you guys are building a big dream. So maybe I'd like to ask both of you, what are your hope and dream? What are some of your hopes and dreams for the future? Do you have very specific things that you'd like to see and work at? So what do you think, Celia? What are some of the dreams that you have?
Well, my dream's really just to see people's lives waking up. And it's been incredible to see lives who have changed. We've had businesses, we've touched on some of the businesses we've worked with. We've worked with NGOs, we worked with an NGO in India where a big human trafficking NGO where they came up with whole new strategy to involve boys and men in their work. We've worked with individuals who've come up with new business plans. We've had someone who started a landscaping business and a jewelry business, a retired person who started painting for the first time and now is doing her second exhibition. So it's incredible to see individual lives touched. And so we really are hoping to have an impact on society. It sounds very big and grand, but we've worked with women in one of our local townships, and they've come up with new business ideas. They were so excited about ways that people who've never worked before. So it is just incredible how lives can change and what fruitfulness can come to our lives when we wake up and are aware of our creativity and start putting it to practice. So it is a big dream, but we are starting to see the fruits, and that's very, very exciting for me on all the different levels.
I'd like to ask Nina the same question, but the word, Celia, that sprung to my mind is hope. When you talked about the human trafficking and even the local ladies coming up with new ideas, I just couldn't help but see hope. Just there's hope for everyone out there, and the big part that creativity plays in that. The wake up, you call it, fantastic. Nina, what is your dream, or you know, is it similar?
Yeah.
Is it different? I mean, what are the things you dream about?
It's very similar to Celia, and it's taking it from that individual level and beyond. So we are passionate about children, and we would love to see this in, you know, more creativity going into teachers, so teachers being trained and having more creativity brought into school curriculum. That's a very long term. We would love to work with government. Celia and I would love to one day be working with people in government, helping them solve problems and use, you know, creative fitness and creative thinking to solve the big challenges of society. We feel that there's nothing that faces us today that we couldn't solve together in collaboration using creative thinking. So we're very passionate about South Africa in particular, but about the world at large, and we'd love to link arms with other creatives. They're people that we've been in touch with and that we are inspired by around the world, and once again with this tech we can connect to them. And by the way, we're inspired by you, Lindie, also stretching out into the tech. This is our first Facebook Live interview.
Oh, wow.
So we're very inspired by you and going into, you know, into the unknown. But yeah, so you know, we'd love to also see Africa spotlighted and do some studying into how we use and express and develop creativity in Africa, you know, in comparison with other continents, and learning and sharing about creativity from other continents. So that is what we'd love to do.
You know, and I can definitely say I'm definitely creativity workshop and you guys #1 fan. You know, that goes without absolute saying. I recently read a book, a fabulous book about changing dimensions of leadership, moving away from command and control to trust and inspire. And it's the latest book by Stephen Covey. And I'm now reminding myself about a saying by Eleanor Roosevelt that said a good leader is someone that can inspire people to follow them, but a great leader is someone that can unlock people to believe in their own greatness. And you know, so I'm just thinking I can actually spend the next hour, 2 hours chatting with you guys and maybe grabbing a glass of wine later because we're just getting so excited about the possibilities. But I've got to say that I do think creativity is right there up in terms of skills around leadership and unlocking people's potential. And, you know, so it also calls for a special level of leadership. You know, so again, this conversation leading over to leadership and or the lack thereof or whatever is needed to change things. But Nina and Celia, maybe just a final word. Celia, you did mention a course starting in January, and if okay, I'd like to just, if it's public yet, you know, where do people get hold of you? How can they get information? Surely on your website. But do you want to just put it on a bumper sticker? What's coming in January already?
Absolutely. So we have a number of courses, as Nina mentioned. We have you know, everything ranging from business to personal courses. So we've got a creativity for business on the Gibbs platform. But we're very excited about a new course that's launching on the 25th of January, and it is really about very personal. It's actually a spiritual course, and it's about how we connect to our creator through our creativity. And we can send a link. You can share it on your Facebook page,
we'll do that,
so people can explore further. But it's a 6-week course. It's Bible-based. We train people of all faiths, but Nina and I are Christian, and this is a Bible-based course. And we hope that it will really excite and inspire people and encourage them to take their creativity to the next level.
Well, that's fantastic. Well done. Nina, what about a final word from you? I think we've just about run out of time. It was amazing, but before I thank you, any final word from you, Nina, perhaps?
Just thank you so much, Lindie, for being a fan of ours, and we are a fan of yours, and we love working with you and some of your entrepreneurs. We also have a heart for entrepreneurs and would love to work with more and more entrepreneurs. And I think something I always notice whenever we talk about creativity is this energizing force that we all end up with. And I feel it now. I think you feel it. I hope that your watchers and listeners are feeling it, and that is the creative force that we need to tap into, and that's what powers all that we do.
Absolutely. You know, and you know, I can't help think that we probably wouldn't have survived throughout the ages had we not been creative. So I mean, it's just one of those superpowers that's in all of us, and it just demands some nourishing and tender care and love. You know, like I said, I could continue chatting with you for another 3 hours, I'm sure, without even breaking a sweat. And I'm sure this will be the first one of many. So Nina Pease and Celia Falkenberg, co-creators and owners of Creativity Wake Up, thank you so much for sharing this hour with me. And may your voices be heard. Shout to the mountains, summit the hills, because I'm getting goosebumps just sitting here, getting all powered up and excited about the future. So may God bless you in all possible ways and give you the voice you need to conquer the world. Gratitude to you. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, oh, we've got a love from USA. Excellent, ladies. Mark Luna. Welcome, Mark. That's fantastic. Thanks for joining us. And maybe next time I'll ask, you know, where's everyone listening in from? It's always exciting to see who's with us on the journey. But thank you so much. It was amazing. And we'll chat again soon. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
so much,
Lindie.
Lindie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.